So this video is going to be a reaction video, but I'm not going to show like much of the video actually. It's just, I don't like that style of React content. I watched this video by one of our viewers. It's a really, really good video. I'll have it as the first link down below by Gonzalo GoragarX, developer of Room 713. It's a 1 month postmortem basically. He also made an anomaly game. So if you followed the Bite Me lore for Kyoto Anomaly and Overtime Anomaly, you're definitely going to want to watch this video as well. It's a very good in-depth video. It's like 30 minutes long. It's very nicely explained with like a good PowerPoint. I really like this video. I like this video so much that I wanted to make a video kind of, or like this video inspired me to make more videos again, basically. Because I think there is a very important thing that maybe isn't talked enough about on YouTube. Also because it's something that doesn't happen that much. Mainly people release games. I know, shocker. But the whole thesis for this video is basically, what the fuck do you do after you release a failure? So I'm not going to dive into like, oh, of course you shouldn't have made an anomaly game and all of those things. No, what's done is done. The question is, after you've made a game that did not hit your financial goals or your expectations, how the hell do you get back to making the next game? And how do you make sure that the next game is better? Or do you just stop and just give up? Those are valid options as well. So that's kind of what I want to talk about. And first off, I want to talk about myself because I'm an egoistic asshole like that. Just kidding. But I do want to, once again, take this quick number, $1,691 in gross revenue for one developer, Gonzalo, over 7 months. That's the quick recap. This is actually, I would say, a pretty normal number. Because let's talk about us. Forge Industry. This is an old game at this point. It's been released almost 3 years ago by now. And it's made by us. Look, it's Bite Me Games. Maybe some people don't even know that we ever made this game. This was the first game we ever made. And this game, to this date, is at $8,000 or like, you know, $11,000 gross revenue. Like, oh, this sounds awesome, right? This game took 4 people, 18 months to develop. So if we then compare, and this is after 3 years of sales, basically. If we then compare to this, one developer, 7 months, this game is already dollar per hour, basically way more effective than Forge Industry. And guess what? Bite Me Games is still around, despite having released this fucking thing at first. You know, I don't hate it that much, but you know, there's clearly a lot of stuff wrong with this game. There's ways we could reimagine this to be like better. Maybe one day we're gonna make Forge Industry too, but for now, don't get your hopes up. I just wanted to give you those numbers of like our game to kind of relativate of like, look, you've released a bad game. That doesn't mean that your life is over right now. I think that's the whole point also of us having this channel of like, you can go back and watch videos from 4 or 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago at this point, or you can see us being clueless. And then you can also go and watch the video like 3 weeks ago or something, where we talk about how he made like fuck tons of money with Elmo 98. And that is the progression basically that game development is. We'll talk more about it in a second. And I think one big thing also that he mentioned in the video, and I want to start by that, is the question, should you quit making games? Because Gonzalo, and maybe you have this as well, I actually see this with other viewers as well, I do not have a game development degree. I have a regular computer science network engineering degree from a university. Gonzalo has a game development degree, and now he's kind of struggling with this question he has of like, did I just waste the last 9 years? Or however long it was, on studying for that game design degree. And I kind of want to just give an answer there. I think something now that I'm getting older as well is the degree brings you to the starting point, not to the finish. Yeah, you spent 9 years or however long studying. I think it's kind of including like middle school and whatever. But reaching that point then of, okay, I release, like in our case, Forge Industry, we were like, oh, we have a computer science degree. How hard can it be to make a game? It just allows you to reach this point. But the degree is not just for now. The degree gives you into the door to give you the benefit of I can actually make a game like this to begin with as my first game, or like almost first game. He has one other game, but it's just like a school project, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this is a free-to-play school project that he made. The degree brings you to game 1, but it's going to allow you to also still, it's going to come into play like 5 years, 10 years from now. Don't just see it as this game being the culmination of your game dev degree. That's thing number 1. Education is something that you carry on for a long time. So yeah, maybe it would have been better if you could get a degree and immediately make $1 million game. I'm from Belgium. In Belgium, we have supposedly the #1 or #2 best game development school in the world, DAE Studios. And they even have like dedicated indie gaming tracks. And I'm gonna be honest, a lot of the people who graduate there as well from one of the top game development schools have no fucking clue either how to make a profitable game. You make profitable games by just making more games and getting better that way. It's kind of like real life, like, you know, street smart versus book smart. Like right now you're book smart. You can book smart make a game. You can develop all of the systems that are needed for your game. Now is the time to get street smart. And without being street smart, I don't think you should expect like, oh, how dare my game be not successful? Little side tangent. So then you get the question, okay, I made this game, it was a commercial failure. What do I do now? Guess he also justifiably, we had this as well, once again with Forge Industry, is like, this is not enough. Bear in mind also, I had quit my job 4 months prior to release. Not just because I thought the game was going to be like a mega hit, but I had quit my job as well. And the question is, okay, do I just wrap up game development? And do I go back to handing out resumes and looking for a job? Or do we keep going? And I think both, you know, you need to ask yourself, what do you want? Because this reminded me, this statement, you have kind of like two pots. You have the pot where you also can end up a bit like Ben Bonk. You may have seen this video 2 months ago for Wrangle Ranch. That was a game he released with like 2 developers and then like the composer guy. And it made kind of similar numbers, $1,920 in lifetime revenue. And in Ben Bonk's case, he ended up like ending that video being like, hey, actually, I think game development just isn't for me. Now, he's released games before as well. That's a very valid and fair approach, and you build your life around that. But I think you can't just have made one single game and then be like, you know, I kind of knew Gonzalo from before as well, of like seeing this as like, this is going to be my career path. I think one thing to keep in mind as well is that finding a job as a regular indie developer, not as like you know, working like an other studio, is incredibly fucking hard right now. I think you shouldn't just be like, oh, I don't really want to do this anymore. I think you just need to understand, okay, it's a business and it takes time to build. Once again, look at the Bite Me Games YouTube channel. It took 4 years to get to this point. It didn't just happen overnight. Of course, some people might be like, oh, MO98 was an overnight success because we made like 40K in a day, but that was an overnight success 4 years in the making, basically. So if you truly don't like game development, that's okay. We had someone in our team. So this game actually was made by 4 people. This is really old Bite Me lore. Bite Me Games right now is mainly 3 people. 3 people. I don't know how you do hand signs anymore. Because one of our developers was really like, hey, I get miserable from the stress of having to manage this like game development stuff. Just give me a 9 to 5. I don't want to do games. Maybe I'll do it as a hobby or something. And we're like, hey, okay, you still worked on this for like 18 months. That's okay. I think for most people, however, if it's not a like immediate like fuck this shit, I never want to do it again, because that was definitely the case with our 4th member, just keep going. It's only going to get better from now. It's generally what I would say. So if you are a Bite Me viewer, I think that's another thing as well, of like what I want this channel to be is more like the business of games as well. Of course, making your dream games can be important, but that is not the core audience when I make videos for this channel. When I make videos for this channel, I really also aim them at people who, like me, do want to make this a financially strong thing down the line. And I think, Gonzalo, what you have in this case, and that's, of course, a question you need to ask yourself, like, do I actually have the bones? Because I've seen some of your guys' games as well, where sometimes it might be better to just stick to this as a hobby. I think in this case, you definitely have the bones to keep going. So if you can, I would do it. And why shouldn't you quit? I think that's another important one, just to bring it back to this video. I don't know where exactly, but somewhere he talks also about like, hey, the goal was to get like 400 euros a month, because that kind of already covers his living costs, because he's in like Spain or somewhere that's pretty cheap. And he's like, yeah, I didn't hit that. And for that, we're going to talk about our own anomaly game, because I have some stuff to talk about there. This is Kyoto Anomaly. This is our kind of second anomaly game. This is the closest to, I would say, Room 713. it did, like, you know, the game has good ratings as well, 98% positive, 79 reviews. I think this is kind of the best case scenario for an anomaly game. So don't make an anomaly game, guy. I don't want to like dive into it too deep, but like anomaly games is not the best genre to make. Here you can even see we have a bundle with him, Anomaly Tourism. And this game, if you look at the revenue, is at $5,544 lifetime revenue, and it's been basically almost exactly a little bit more than 1 year since we released this game. Okay, so we did a little bit better than him. Okay, once again, there's a few little caveats on that regard. And if we look at revenue the last month, this is $229. So this would not be enough for Gonzalo. If we are aiming at that $400 general earnings, it wouldn't be enough. This is like room 713 in this case, let's assume. But let's look at the entire publisher profile for Bite Me Games. And if we once again go to and look at the last 31 days, even if we ignore MO98, filter this one out, we're still looking at, okay, Unicycle Pizza Time. This game was made in a month. It's still made now 1.5, almost 2 years after release, $236. Kyoto Anomaly, $229. Okay, a supporter pack for MO98, okay, $135, $119, $26. This would be enough for Gonzalo to hit that mark. But you're only getting that by making more games. I think, you know, of course, if you have your first game immediately be a mega hit, that's better. But that's not the most realistic, where for the longest time, we've been able to hit these numbers, like 600, 700 euros a month from our Steam sales alone, which in our case, because we are 3 people and we live in like more high cost of living countries, wasn't enough. That's why we have things like our Patreon and this YouTube channel and all of that to kind of combine. For Gonzalo, this, I think if I gave Gonzalo this earnings, basically, it would be like, hey, this is fucking dope already. I'm surviving just by making games, because that's an important thing as well. You're doing shit that you, for the most part, do like with making games as well. So you need to work on making a backlog. If you really, like, I think you can't genuinely say that, oh, game dev is an unsustainable business if you've only made one game. And then especially like sometimes, this is not Gonzalo, but like sometimes you see like developers who do that after having spent 3 years on one game and then be like, yeah, this is unsustainable. It's like, yes, because you have an unsustainable business model. Now, one thing that he also dives into the later part of this video, and I think this is a very important thing and kind of was the reason why I wanted to make this video, so I could speak to other people as well and tell you what I think about some of these things, is also releasing a failure. The mental suck is immense. It kind of, you know, your self-worth becomes tied to either your revenue number or your review score. I think review score takes priority even, because I think MO98, if MO98 had the same amount of revenue, but was it like a 75 or an 80% positive, I would be fucking jumping off the, like, up and down from happiness. We made 78K with a 60 or like 54% positive reading at some point. I was miserable. The money didn't matter, because your self-worth, just, you cannot ignore tying your self-worth to these review scores. Now, there's ways to improve this. I think a first big one is you can widen this gap between your, like, how you feel and then how the game performs by just spending less time on the game, because you're going to get less emotionally invested in the game. In the case that you spent 7 months on the game as a solo developer, kind of locked into your room, you're extremely, extremely tied in with this game. Like, you want this game. This game has become your identity. It's the thing you do for most of your day. So if that game then doesn't perform well, kind of sucks. And also with going and like reading reviews, this goes even stronger, because you read every review not as a piece of criticism about your game. You read it as a piece of criticism about you. It's not, so when there's like a comment that's like, oh, the review that's like, this game is so uninspired, you won't read that as, oh, this game, this objective entity that I worked on. No, you read it as, this game is uninspired. This means that I, the developer, am uninspired. And then you get into this spiral of just hating your life, honestly. There's no better way to describe it. And my one piece of advice, and this is unironic, I swear to God, but this was the thing that helped me a lot. You read this book, Can't Hurt Me, by David Goggins. I know, maybe the manosphere has given it a bit of a bad rap, but genuinely this book did a lot for me. After Forge Industry came out, I read this because we got a lot of negative reviews. Not just negative reviews, but also like we made like a video that went giga viral of like our revenue with a lot of negative comments about how could you make this game. This book did a lot for me. Even to this day, sometimes I just yell, who's got to carry the boats if I don't want to do something hard. So this is my piece of advice. Don't read the second book. He made like a second book. It's kind of bad. But this book, I would say, is really good. And that did a lot for me as well to kind of get over it. Now, the mental suck will always be there. I think that's an important thing to say as well. The important thing that you can do is to try and reduce the amount of time needed to get through that mental suck, basically. The same game could give you a month of depression, like postpartum depression, or it give you 3 days. In both cases, you will get over it. It's just that the longer you take to get over it, the more miserable you will be. And I know, this is like telling a depressed guy, just don't be depressed. That's true, but to a certain degree, you also need to be like, hey, this game sucked. Let's make the next one better. And that's kind of the mindset that at some point you will be able to make that click going from the current game to next game. And then, okay, like now, M198, I don't really care that much about it anymore. As in, like, I still care about the game, but I don't feel like sad or anything, even though I can look at the review scores. I'm over that part 100% by now. I think like when I made like the video like a few weeks ago, it was still more rough, let's say. It is what it is now, and we're going to make the next games better. And I think that is an important mindset or like thing that you should think as well. It is what it is. How do we do it better next time? And in this video also, let's bring it back here. He also talks, I don't know where exactly, about like his next games. Yeah, so he's got like, oh, what's next? And he's been prototyping like some stuff like a game like the DopplerFrog TFT, and then there was some other thing. He had like 2 games that he was kind of working on. Oh, this was the other one. I think, of course, really fucking props to you that you are working on the next game. But I think he's making a mistake here. And I think this is something, I don't know how to describe this. This is something that I also just had to learn over the years, because we did that same thing. After Forge Industry released, we're like, okay, we're just going to make the next game. And we're going to make a roguelite, Songs of Everjade, Songs of Nevermade, for those who know. We spent like, once again, half a year on that or something. And we ended up canceling that game because we just almost too blindly were like, this game failed, we need to make the next game. And we need to make the next game better or whatever. I think what you need to focus on, and this is something that we've tried to force ourselves to do more now as well, is quick wins. Because one of the biggest, like, you know, you are a management game. You manage yourself like GameDev Tycoon. And one of your bars that you have is confidence and motivation. And if your confidence is low, no matter what, it's going to impact your productivity. It's going to impact everything, basically. And how do you build confidence? You get quick wins. Quick wins is a game like a Unicycle Pizza Time. That was our quick win, because we had been canceling game after game after game for like a year plus. It had been almost a year, basically, since we released Forge Industry, and all we did was cancel games in the meantime. And that's when we realized we are so low on confidence. We don't believe in ourselves anymore. We need to make something just to prove to ourselves that we can still make games, and like that we can make better games. And there's better in 2 ways. There's better in terms of like financial, and there's better as in what you determine as well. I think, for example, Kyoto Anomaly was the first good game we made, and since then we've been pretty good at it in terms of polish, in terms of there not being any bugs, in terms of actually objectively being a good game experience. Game design, let's leave that alone, and like marketability and all of that stuff, but like actual like in-depth doing something fresh with the genre, all of that, I to this day stand by that this may have been the best game we've ever made in terms of quality, polish, things like that. Attention to detail, more so even almost than M198. I think M198 is also still pretty high, but I think this is the game that I personally am the most fond of. And that's kind of the problem. Like he said, like the roguelites, like the Loopler and whatever, roguelites are cool. And these are games that could probably make you good money. The problem is that a roguelite, realistically, if an anomaly game takes you 7 months to make it, I think a roguelite game is going to take you a year plus. And the question is, do you have enough confidence at this point to go another year without releasing a game? Because he makes valid points as well. Like, yeah, horror games are harder to sell or like harder to be profitable, but horror games are easier to get a foot into the door, make something in a relatively limited amount of time, and just build up that confidence meter again. If you can make something quicker, or like friend swap, that's what we did with Unicycle Pizza Time. Very simple gameplay loop. I don't know if friend swap is like the best genre to make anymore right now. Maybe it's incremental games now. I don't know. But something that is just faster to make, I think is a very important thing, because you need to build up that confidence again. You need to not get into this paralysis where it's easy to say like, oh yeah, I've learned a lot from this game and this failure, but not really most of the time. Like, you know, you can be like, oh, I'm going to really learn from this, and then you spend another 4 months once again before you even get to validation. Honestly, hand in the air, I do this as well still. I think one big tip that I would give you, or if you've made your first game and it didn't perform well, and this is something that people hate me for, but I will stand by this approach until the day I die, is doing market first development. As in, start with the visuals. Like, you come up with a game idea. Okay, cool. I have this incremental horror game idea. I do have an incremental horror game idea. First thing you do then, I make the visuals and I look at, does this look good? Does this look interesting? Same thing with MO98. That game, I had game idea. First thing I did was I made all of the UI. There was zero gameplay for the first 2 weeks basically for that game, but all of the UI was there. The visual impact was already there from the start, and I think that is what's needed to really see, and this is something that once again probably only comes by making more games, so like, fuck yeah, this game is going to perform well. And sometimes you're also going to see like, oh fuck, this game isn't going to perform well. But by front loading that, because it doesn't matter how good your game feels if it doesn't look good, if people aren't interested in it. And I think that is a big thing, once again, especially if you're going for the approach of smaller development cycles, building a catalog, going for profitability, and treating this as a business first and not as a hobby and like dream project thing. You should have that more analytical approach as well, of like figuring out, how do I make this game appeal? Even though, sure, horror has a way lower ceiling in terms of maximum revenue than a roguelite. A roguelite, you can make millions and millions and millions if you do it good. At a horror game, you make 10K. It's already, I would say, pretty good. But at least you can get something out of the door quickly. And you can build up that confidence. You can build up that backlog. Because also, the longer that horror game is still going to earn money whilst you're working on the other games. If you build up the portfolio of smaller games first, they will keep selling and keep funding until the big game is able to come out. This video is getting long. I have one more final talking point that I think is a fair point, but I also want to kind of respond to it with the video. One thing Gonzalo mentioned as well, and it's something, once again, I think 85% of the Bite Me audience is solo developers, is mentioning that being a solo developer is something he doesn't really want to do anymore. And it's fair. You can think that. I think in his case, being a solo developer is kind of the best possible option. You know, coming from someone who isn't a solo developer, the moment you have multiple people, even just one extra person, the financial calculations just get fucked. Because unless you find someone who also has that same minuscule low like cost of living as you do, cost to be profitable flies through the roof. Also, it doesn't really go like that much faster. Like, why would you get a second person? It's honestly mental. I think it's more mental than actual development and technical. I think that's the first big thing, especially because in the case of Gonzalo, when you can make a game that looks like this and that plays like this, you're kind of the unicorn, as in you can do both art and programming and marketing and all of that, basically. I honestly think you don't need someone. Why are we together? Because like we, as like me and the boys with Bite Me, we're together because we need to complement each other. Thomas and William are really good programmers, but I'm not going to make like too harsh statements. Thomas definitely, he can't make a good game UI for the life of him. It's just, he can't do it. William maybe knows like game design, but once again, like UI, graphics, and God forbid marketing, he doesn't want to do. We complement each other. I don't really know how to program well, but I can do UI design, I can do marketing, I can do all of those things. So in our case, yes, it makes sense to be together and to be in this shared misery of game development. But I think also at the early stage you are right now with only one released game, finding other people to work with you on games, they're not high quality enough. They're not going to... Also, that's another thing. Nobody will care as much about your games as you. That's problem number one. And then also, especially if you only have one moderately failed game as like your portfolio, a lot of other developers will probably not want to work together with you, or the ones that do want to work with you are the ones who never released the game to begin with. And at that point, what you need is just a community. You just need someone to talk to and be like, hey, Do you think this is a good idea? Or what the fuck do I do with my game development? Things like that, basically. But I think you don't need more cooks in the kitchen. I think it's easy to say like, hey, I want to get someone else. I think if you're not in the Bite Me Games Discord, I think you're missing out. We have really cool people in there. And then maybe later on, you can look at like maybe accountability partners, or you can look at just someone who is like interested in the game or interested in you and just sync up with them. But I don't think you need like full multi-developer capacities. I think that is also, once again, you see this with studios, especially studios are like 2-3 people. It becomes incredibly hard to make financial revenue and profit and all of that. Okay, anyways, this was a longer video, but I had a bunch of points that I wanted to talk about. Once again, go and watch Gonzalo's video. I think it's really solid. He's a really chill guy. He is very analytical. I think he's going to perform really well as long as he doesn't stop making games. Just keep working. The P stands for pain. Like, I do like his communication style as well. And I think there's a lot of good games that can come out of him still. And maybe you as well if you're watching this. But I don't want you to quit. I know it sucks to make a game that doesn't perform well. And I know it sucks even more to make 5 games that don't perform well, because I know there's a lot of Bite Me viewers who do that as well. At that point, maybe you want to question, okay, am I really a good game developer? Where is it going wrong? But I think otherwise, you just have to keep going, get a little bit more business built, and go from there. Anyways, that's all I had to say. We're on the road to build $1 million studio ourselves, and I want to take you guys along on the ride. We've learned a lot of stuff, and I want to share those learnings in videos like this as well. If you want to work with me as well, there's a link down below. You can click that as well, and we can maybe figure out something there. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!